Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is Untether.tv. This is where we bring together the voices and the minds of the mobile industry to help you run your business, to make sure that you can learn from their mistakes and learn from their successes and understand what it takes to be in this mobile space. We get behind the scenes in this industry. My name, Rob Woodbridge. I'm obviously the founder, the host, and I love doing this. I love bringing you guests each and every week, and I really appreciate you guys coming back here each and every week to do this. Content on the site is insane now. Great guest contributors from around the world and in different industries. We really, all focused in mobile, of course. Really appreciate. Go and take a look at it. If you haven't been to the website in a while, go there now, as soon as this episode is done. My voice. Sens playoff hockey. You got to understand, this is not something that happens naturally. We're in the playoffs, and I was at a game, and I left my voice in the stands in support of this team. So bear with me as we go through this. We have a great guest today. I want to set the scene for you. You have built an app, whether it's a game, a productivity application, something that you're very proud of, something that your parents are very proud of, something that the world is very proud of or should be proud of. You have no idea how to get it out there, no idea what to do with this, no idea how to get a single download or a million downloads. Some people make it look easy. It is not. And our guest today is going to walk us through the top 10 things app developers should do to get their app out there and be known. So I'm really happy to do this. It's actually pretty cool because it's full circle for my guest. His name is Kyle McInnes. Kyle, say hi.
Hey guys, how you doing, Rob?
Great. Kyle is the co-founder of a company called Pretzil, and maybe some of you will recognize this as I'm going to pull it up here. Bear with us because Kyle and I used to do a show a long time ago. Well, what do we call this thing, Kyle?
BlackBerry Cool Untethered.
Original. And here is a clip from the very first episode when it wasn't even called that. I'm going to let it run here. It's going to be pretty funny. Hold on. Watch this. Oh, we were such amateurs. Hold on.
You know, it's BlackBerry cool. What's cool? I don't know.
Creativity sucks just between the two of us on a Friday afternoon. So,
like we are
so Kyle,
much younger, much more inexperienced.
What we want to kind of get out of this, short
much more optimistic about BlackBerry.
Happening.
Those were the days.
Well, predominantly by
you know what's sad about this is that I think we got through. I think we got through 7 episodes before we were like, oh man, this company's kind of screwed. Well, that was a long time ago. That particular episode was actually from, you can do a search on Untether.tv. It's actually from March 27th, 2010. So it was like 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago.
It was a while ago.
Pretty amazing. And since then, Kyle, you have gone off and done this thing called Pretzil. Why don't you tell everybody what Pretzil does? We're going to dive right into this. What is Pretzil?
Yeah, so Pretzil's got quite a good story to it. When we first started off, we were essentially a spin-off from a local mobile gaming company called Magmic. Now, you've talked with people from Magmic before, and you're very familiar with the company. And so Magmic had all of these single-player titles, and the idea was that they wanted to build a social layer on top of these titles. And an app discovery, a game discovery mechanism so that they could cross-pollinate users. So this would help. It would alleviate support costs because you'd have this social network where people can talk about the games, if they have problems, help each other. It would also, cross-pollinate users, so increase downloads for the various titles, and as well as, create this discovery mechanism, where if I like solitaire, I'll probably like cribbage, and so on and so forth. So we created this system for Magmic, and essentially it was kind of like a score loop. And we had BlackBerry, Android, iPhone support. And, we decided to pivot the company and say, well, we can do this for games, but, Score Loop's been acquired. Let's take a look at what we can do for the greater app ecosystem. Developers, they all want to, they want to increase their downloads, gain exposure, and the app stores just aren't currently doing a good enough job in targeting users for the applications that they'll like. And it's pretty surprising considering how much information that the app stores have on a user. They have their location, they have what other apps they've downloaded, and yet it still doesn't do a sufficient job of proper recommendations and discovery. So, we saw a pretty obvious opportunity to take what we've built with Pretzil, pivot the company a little, change the technology, change the technology a little, and launch it for all apps. So, just last week we put our beta iOS app in the App Store. It's currently not available in the U.S. We're going to launch in the U.S. next week. We just kind of wanted to get, essentially increase our beta test pool. And we've got some great feedback. We've got some awesome updates on the way. And, we're building something that's really going to help developers get more downloads and help consumers find the apps that we know they're going to love. So it's there are other people out there doing it, and we realize this. But what we're doing is we're building something that's pretty unique. So Pretzil differentiates itself in three main ways. One, it's a completely independent social network. So while others may have support for Facebook and Twitter, it's rare that you have a completely independent social network. Pretzil is coming on 1.5 million users. And all of these users have their own unique account on Pretzil. They can talk with other users. They can meet people in the system. And this all happens completely independently of any other social network. Two, location. Users are pinging Pretzil. We've got their device, location, where they're using the app, what app they're using. And we're able to take this information and use it to better recommend apps, as well as help with the discovery based on location. If I walk into a mall, for example, and that mall has an app, I want to know that. If, let's say if Foursquare isn't very popular around me, but let's say the Yelp app is, I know that Yelp's going to have better local data. Not to mention if I'm traveling, if I'm going from A to B, Pretzil knows this, and we can recommend apps based on where you're going and merely the fact that we know you're traveling. And then I would say the third main way we differentiate ourselves is through metrics. So by combining all of the social data as well as the location data, there's a great opportunity there to recommend apps and to learn more about the users. So we've got the iOS app coming, and we've also recently announced that we got more funding. So we're going to use that to hire a BlackBerry and an Android developer. And so we'll have an app on every platform, and the database is being migrated right now to something much more sophisticated. And so we'll have every app there for people to discover.
So, Kyle, when did you start? When did it germinate in Magmic? How long has this been going on for?
So we were in development. We were developing the system at Magmic for about, I would say about a year, and then we launched publicly in October of 2010. So we launched in October 2010 with seed financing of about $300K, and we just now managed to build something that's really, that can squeeze down into an iOS app, as well as if you go to developer.pretzil.com, it's all really straightforward how to integrate Pretzil and how to get your app discovered. It's one line of code, and it's a very simple API call.
So this has been a long time coming. 1.5 million users engaged, and these aren't just connected users. These are people with accounts, right?
Correct. Yeah, these almost 1.5 million people with unique accounts.
So how important is that versus kind of what you see out there, which is the transient piece, which is connected through an API call or something like easy to sign up or connected to Facebook? How important is it to have your own user base like you guys do have?
Well, I think it's important to leverage things like Facebook, the sign-in process easier. But the point is, you need to get that data, and you need to bring them onto their own system. You can't be Facebook's bitch. If Facebook decides for whatever reason that they're cutting you out of the system, that's your business screwed. Well, you have to mitigate the risk, and what the best way to mitigate that risk is to not be totally reliable on any other one company.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to be Facebook's bitch unless Facebook pays $1 billion for you, right?
Correct. Then I'll happily be someone's
exactly.
bitch.
I have an asking price. I have a yeah. My price is only $1 billion. Actually, my price is probably only $1 million. Right? Why be greedy? So you know, it takes 3 years. It's taken you guys roughly 3 years to build this out. Struggles, challenges, like you know. 3 years ago, we started to see the emergence of this discovery world when it came to the apps. You know, certainly iPhone, iOS apps were up there. Android was just kind of launching at the time. BlackBerry was a little bit behind. Windows Phone was really not there either. So, I mean, you launched this service 3 years ago, and Magmic has been developing games for 10 years now. So, saw the emergence, knew that there was going to be a requirement for discovery. What is it like to build a product in an industry that nobody knows is out there and nobody thinks is relevant 3 years ago? And now they're looking at it and say, oh my God, it's so relevant today. What was that like?
Yeah, it's you know, not only that, but it's also really tough to build a business that is you know, not very much in the way of upfront revenues. So it takes when you're dealing with, you know, social networks, users, you're dealing with a business that requires massive scale in order to be successful. And you know, the one thing that developers and anyone in, you know, online media knows, it's growing traffic, getting a user base is incredibly hard, and it takes a lot of work. And there's a lot you can do from an engineering perspective to help that growth. So, for example, one of the things we do in Pretzil is we leverage Facebook's Open Graph. Facebook has been talking about the ability to publish into timeline has helped a lot of companies that require massive amounts of scale, has really helped them grow their user base. It gets them exposure in everyone's timeline, and companies such as Spotify have been able to do this, you know, facilitating a very easy way of sharing their traffic and the discovery. So there's certain engineering things that you can do to help it, and then there's a lot of just really pounding the pavement and promoting the hell out of something, and building a product that people will like and want to share with their friends. So yeah, it's difficult. It's really fun. It's really challenging, and you know, we're just constantly evolving the product. You know, we're going to get there. 1.5 million is coming soon, but you know, I'm looking forward to the 2 million, and then once we're on all platforms, you know, we're going to make that 10 million user announcement, and that's when things get really exciting.
Well, I mean, it must be exciting because you get validation. You struggle you get some seed funding, and then you go out and raise a little bit more recently. And what was that like? You know, you've been raising for a while, but what was it that maybe gelled, that people understood the problem that you guys are solving? Do you know what it was?
Well, the iOS app, having something that we can put in the investors' hands was a really big aha moment for a lot of the investors, because you know, we had this API, we had all of these users, and we had a great desktop website, but none of that really jives with anyone anymore. You know, it's a mobile industry, and if you're talking about anything in mobile, you have to have an app. You have to have something that you can put in their hands and that they can download for themselves. So, you know, once Pretzil actually had something on the device and we were able to show them the direction we're going, people started to exactly understand the value proposition of Pretzil, because it's really hard to visualize an API and how that benefits someone.
Yeah, I think that that's when you start to think about the big challenge of what you guys had to face, building the app must have been it. I mean, when you're bootstrapping a company, it's got to be very difficult to be able to develop a product. Like people always say, well, just go out and find a technical co-founder. That must have been a struggle to be able to get this product out. I know we've talked many times over the last couple of years, and it was always about getting this product, getting it into somebody's hands. It's the chicken and the egg situation, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, and I think in terms of the way the company has evolved, it's actually pretty common in the industry, but I think people are moving away from it. So when you look at guys like Twitter started with a really basic website as well as a set of APIs. Foursquare started as a website and basic set of APIs, and then they grew out of that and then launched all these mobile products. For Pretzil, it almost feels like people don't believe us when we say we have these users, because they go, well, where's your app? How did you get there? Well, our app exists as 100 app, 50 or so, 50 to 100 apps out there using our API. That's what's driving our user growth, and now we're going onto the mobile platform. So it's in a way, we're kind of like a startup that's launching with 1.5 million users.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. But there's got to be, I mean, when you guys pivot, when you look at this and you say, listen, we're an API that fits into other people's apps, and you're getting pushback saying, where is your app? And then you launch the app. What's the reaction been to your iOS launch?
So we're still in beta, and we're getting a lot of feedback. Some of the more challenging elements of this kind of app is particularly on iOS. It's not that easy to read what apps are on the device. If you're dealing with BlackBerry or Android, that information is all available to you. Exactly what processes are running, etc. So right now we're working on a good way of detecting the apps on the device. When we first launch with this, it'll be about 80% accurate, with the ability for the user to kind of manually complement that. But yeah, so that's kind of been one of the technical challenges that we're overcoming right now, as well as just being able to improve the recommendation engine, and then be able to provide all of this back to developers as analytics that they can use in their own, for their own dashboard.
It's funny because I mean, you're in the helping other companies get their apps discovered, and at the same time you're entering the app space, and you're going to face the challenge of getting your app discovered, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I wish I had a Pretzil for our Pretzil.
What would that make it? I'm not sure.
It's very meta.
Very meta.
Yeah, so I think what's really going to help is the fact that like I said, we've made the right engineering decisions in the application to help with a lot of that organic growth. But also, my experience with blogging about mobile apps, and I've read every single how-to there is out there on the internet, and we're confident that if we just and we should talk about this. Here's what a good time to transition to. Here's kind of, I put together maybe 10 things that any app developer can do, and we'll put this up on a list on the blog so you can read it. But let's go through them. So beta, number one, a beta group. You got to start off. Your early adopters are going to be your biggest fans and the guys promoting you. So develop the beta group, reward those beta users, and keep them engaged. So if you're using iOS, you can use TestFlight. BlackBerry and Android, you can have your own side-loading distribution methods. But make sure those updates are coming, and you're keeping them engaged. Facebook provides some great opportunities with Open Graph. I think more companies should be leveraging Open Graph. If music can be, if music services can take advantage of this, really any digital content can benefit as well, whether it's art content online. We need to get the untethered.tv Facebook app going, so you could capitalize on that growth as well.
Let's do that. Let's do it right now.
Yeah. Number 3, I would say leveraging app advertising networks such as App Circle by Flurry. Flurry is incredibly easy to integrate, and if you need an extra boost in your downloads, you can always pay per install. It's a great system. Number 4, I'd say, now this is a bit of it's not very well. It's a little frowned upon in the industry, but paid download networks such as at Magenta were used to be really successful. Now Apple's clamped down on those, and the last I heard, the company was kind of trying to pivot its approach because it's had so much negative feedback from Apple. But I would say developers need to at least do the research into these networks, see what they're offering and how much they cost, and then decide whether or not you're going to do that. So whether or not it's gaming the system or it's just another form of advertising, I mean that's another debate. But I think it's definitely worth looking into. 5, blogger outreach. So it's so easy to put together a simple email with a download link, screenshots, send it to Untether, and let them know about your app. It's really simple, and you've got to do it. 6, regular updates. So every app out there needs to stay engaged with their users by having a regular cycle of something like every 2 weeks you have a dot update with some bug fixes, slight improvements, and then every month or month and a half you need a significant release, something that definitely improves the product and keeps people engaged. On iOS, it's users have got a great update habit, with the update all function. BlackBerry, God, I'd be surprised if anyone updates their apps on BlackBerry, but just keep them engaged. Now, if you have a paid app, number 8, I'd say, or 7 rather, I'd say price movement. So shift the prices up and down, and that's going to get you a lot of exposure in a lot of these app price tracking apps. So you just by shifting the price up and down, you can get yourself exposure in these networks. Now, on the issue of price, number 8, I'd say you have to offer a free trial. I've seen a lot of companies expecting, in the thousands of download ranges for their 99-cent app. And the fact of the matter is, with so many free apps out there, in the very bare minimum, you have to offer a free trial, and then it's up to you to find a creative way of upping your conversion rate. But the 99-cent barrier, where it used to be really low, is seemingly pretty high these days. So on that note, in-app monetization, the lower you can make your price, the better, the easier it is, the lower the barrier to entry. So find a way of virtually monetizing things, pushing the price somewhere else into the application so that you can lower the upfront costs, ideally to free. And 10, go on a revenue share program. So if you've ever seen Jetpack Joyride, it has a news section where they promote an app in their network. Magmic has something called their More Fun category. And all of these large publishers will all have a mechanism for you to inject your app in there. Take the hit on upfront revenue, because the snowball effect will propel you into the top download categories, which is really where the money is. So I think those are 10 things, really basic, that I think every app developer has to at least try and leverage. And then number 11, the most important
one, yes,
is get your app on Pretzil. So developer.pretzil.com. It's a really easy process, 3-step process, and the API is just one line of code to integrate. And we've got some really cool things for developers coming up.
All right, so that's the 10 list. I have so many questions on this. Can we go through some of these questions? Okay.
Absolutely.
Ask Kyle to speak more than me so that you don't suffer through this. you actually get some value in Kyle. So I appreciate that, Kyle. But I do have some questions, and I think that people who are watching or listening would be angry if I didn't ask these questions. I don't think they're challenging, but there's always a way to game these systems, and we talked about that with paid downloads, or Apple clamping down on the opening up free games if you go and download 3 or 4 other games. The way that they've done that for so long. But when it comes to these things, let's talk about this price movement. This was number 7. I think that everybody understands. Listen, develop a beta group. Yeah, get it out there. And on that beta group, would you suggest them actually going out to bloggers, influencers?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's ultimately your job. I wouldn't put something that is, especially if it's a big article that you're looking to get on TechCrunch or BetaKit or one of these great kind of websites. I would say don't leave something that important up to a beta user. Do it yourself.
Right. But I mean, what I'm saying is that start that conversation with those guys, maybe by integrating them into the beta group, so that they have they reach out and ask them if they can be a part of that, if they should be a part of that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we made the point of adding all these bloggers, or at least sending them links to test flight to try and get them on the beta, and bringing them into the conversation. Yeah,
okay.
Definitely.
So integrate Facebook. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Although sometimes, people turn off their notifications of games, which is a challenge. But then they're not your audience. Clearly, they're not interested in games. App Circle is very cool from Flurry. Paid downloads, that's an entire show around that. I know that it was very accepted. It was like the industry's dirty little secret a couple of years ago. Paid downloads, paid ratings, paid reviews, all those kind of things. And I'm not a big fan of those. So you have to earn it on your own merit. And people recognize when you're gaming the system around those things, especially around paid downloads. Like, download it, I'll give you $1. Remember those things? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I totally agree. I think if you make smart decisions and you build a quality product, you won't need something like that. Yeah. But, you wouldn't be doing your job if you didn't at least research it.
You have to explore it. And I worked with a company that had a game a couple of years ago, and they wanted to go, and we set up a Facebook page, a fan page, and everything like that, and they paid, Fiverr. Remember, that site Fiverr? Yeah. Fiverr.com. Anything for $5. They paid Fiverr for like 10,000 followers, and they were all spam bots, and it was crap. So buyer beware when you get into these things. Go with a reputable firm if there is such a thing. So just buyer beware out there. Your 5th point, blogger outreach. So key, isn't it? Like, people forget this, that the influencers aren't the New York Times and the Washington Post or the Wall Street Journal or the USA Today. They're the bloggers, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's what I've also found is it's great SEO. So Pretzil as a domain, Google does this annoying thing where it keeps thinking I'm just spelling the food wrong, and but after BetaKit posted an article about our seed financing, that always comes up as the top link now, and I can just comment anything I want, the iTunes store link. I can throw all that in the comments, and now it's a one click away from the App Store.
So I've just pulled Pretzil up on the page. Pretzil, not EL. Okay, it's Pretzil, but. And it's Z is the Canadian Z. So just have to be clear about that. But blogger outreach is key. And when should that start?
That should start when I found we got a lot of attention from the seed financing, and it was kind of it's kind of annoying when you're trying to you're trying to build something great, and you're really excited about this product that you're building, and you're going, hey, look, just join the beta, and they're going, no, we're not interested in that. How much money did you raise? How many people are you hiring? And I'm like, well, that's not the story we want. We want you to take a look at the app and tell us, give us some feedback on the app. But I would say any kind of financing round, people love to write about that, and it's just if you can talk about it, talk about it. It's the easiest way to get your company covered. If as soon as you have a product that they can actually download, start emailing them. So as early in the process as you possibly can, start that conversation, because they may not write about you the first time, they may not write about the second, but they know that there's 3 emails from you in their inbox, and they're not right together, but they all tell a linear story. And I think that's what people want in the end. They just want a good story, and developing an app and going through that process is a great one.
The frustration is very high because I lived through the .com era, and it was all the same. It was all about funding and financing and IPO and how much you're going to sell for and what the valuation is. But behind all of this is a great technology, something that you're very proud of, is an algorithm that allows you to discover new things. And it kind of gets lost, doesn't it? Because you struggle. I've watched you guys struggle for 2 years, independent, trying to push this out there. And the news hit that you get is because you closed a round of seed financing, right? It's like, God.
Yeah,
you missed
exactly.
it.
And they always want to know the names of exactly who's financing it. And the problem is now it becomes this story about someone that invests in your company, and that's great. That's that's wonderful, but it's probably not the story they should be telling. It should be this new technology that promises to build a new industry.
Well, and that's it. We know, one of your co-founders, John Criswick, right? Yeah. So John Criswick is also the founder of Magmic. I worked at one of John's companies. I was the CEO of a company called Rove that was recently sold. And so John is a prolific angel investor, and he's also going to be one of the very few that gets to go and see the space from Richard Branson's Spaceship One. So Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic, he's going to be part of that. So, people focus on those kind of stories around a company like Pretzil. It's like, oh, Pretzil. Oh, your founder's John. Okay, well, let's talk about space. Like, what's it going to be like to see the Earth parabolic arc, and what's it going to be like to be weightless, and what's lost in all this are the companies like Pretzil, right?
Well, that's a good point. And John's a great guy to have as co-founder, because he's so modest and sees that. And in fact, he asked to be taken off as a co-founder on Pretzil's corporate page and put simply as an advisor/investor, because he knew that it would change the narrative of the company if he was there as a co-founder. And he was, he's humble enough that he's willing to just kind of give that to the other co-founders.
Yeah, I know John very well, and I call him his companies are in the middle of, and we've talked about this before, but his companies are in the middle of this place called the Byward Market in the city of Ottawa, and it's a thriving software environment, but it's also the tourist mecca for the city of Ottawa. It's old Ottawa. It's Bytown, a great lumber history there. It's also where the Parliament buildings are, and per capita, per square foot, the most number of restaurants in the city of Ottawa. And I just called him the patron saint of the Byward Market, simply because he employed at some point like 300 or 400 people that worked in that area, and he himself has contributed to the bottom line of a lot of those restaurants, and he owns a bar down there. I mean, it's a great little ecosystem. I didn't mean to divert us from this, but you see that.
This is what happens. It becomes a story about someone else.
It is, and but it's just because it's all part of the lore of the company. But you got to succeed first, and you succeed on the fact that you can bring the technology to market, and that's why blogger outreach is so important with the right story.
Absolutely.
See, I brought that back.
That was good. I saw you did there.
The 7th point here, you talked about price movement. Now, this isn't just about arbitrary price movement. This is strategic, isn't it? This is about managing. I don't know, the flow. So most applications shoot out of the mark if you do things right in the pre-work, right, which is create awareness, create anticipation. They shoot out of the starting gates very, very, very high, and they accelerate, different trajectories, but they usually accelerate, and then they hit a key, their apex, and then they start to plummet. And then you got to be strategic around when you adjust prices. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say so. And you know, so I've done my own kind of experimenting with this. I have a paid application through another company that I was doing before Pretzil, and you know, so we fluctuated the price on that application from anywhere from 99 cents to 6.99, and you know, I'm sure you talk to developers, and they'll, you know, this is very anecdotal. This is very anecdotal. I'll just put that out there. But what we found was monthly revenue wouldn't change between 99 cents and 6.99. The total revenue wouldn't be that much different. But what we did find was we got a lot more marketing out of it. So you know, we got a couple articles around the fact that we had made this price reduction, and you know, while revenue wasn't, you know, because the price had come down and downloads had gone up, there wasn't that huge of a change. But the marketing really helped us. Again, it goes back to SEO, blogger outreach, and getting your name out there. So even, you know, even if your revenue isn't changing, do it as a marketing initiative.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the cool things here is that you have certain levers that you can pull. One of them is price, because you are going to get picked up in those blogs and you know, the websites that monitor price changes, whether it's going up or going down. But I guess the key thing here is, or is it? Let me ask you this: is that like the race to zero is on the moment that you actually put an app out there, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say it is, and I think that's, you know, that goes back to the other point of in-app monetization, and you know, it's something that I think, from what I've read and some of the developers I've talked to, I think, you know, the race to zero isn't great when you think about it in terms of the amount of work that has to go into an app. I mean, 99 cents, it's for the amount, you know, that's not something you can really build a company on. But if you can find a way to create all these other instances of monetization, and you've now lowered the barrier to entry, and you're playing a user game, that's not so difficult.
Well, that's it's well said. Is that it's unfortunate because at some point, well, I mean, price is a lever that you should be able to play. And I remember working with Wes Tam over at GlitchSoft, and I mean, very strategic thinker around how he adjusts his price, and it is about timing. So if you start, like, you never start at 99 cents unless, because that's a nuisance fee, and that's my view, is that you start, if you're going to charge, because you can fluctuate. If it's $4.99 or $6.99, I don't care. You got to charge, so that if you want a bump, if you want to accelerate your bump, you can reduce the price, and it gives you that bump. It gives you that natural uplift. But if you start at 99 cents, what are you going to do? Right?
Yeah. But do you think do you think the average user monitors that? So if you start at 99 cents and you go up to $2.99, who do you think's really going to notice?
Well, the people who spend 99 cents on it, right?
Maybe if they go back.
Well, the way I think about it, like, if you think that, listen, so we've all bought apps for $4.99. I use this app called Gain Fitness. I mean, I was one of the very few that spent $2.99 on it. Like, literally 10 days later, they went free, right? And that kind of leaves a bitter taste in your mouth. It's only $3. It's probably worth 50, but because of the, you know, the scale that we're dealing with here, is like, wait a second, I just spent $3. I'm pissed. Where's my money, right? Yeah. So, you know, it's a fluctuate, but Wes always had this great way of doing it, where he'd say, listen, you know, we're at $4.99. When we start to see the decline happen, the natural arc happen on the way down, we're going to drop it to $2.99, see if we can bump it back up and become another featured app, right? So it's strategic until the point where you're down at 99 cents, and then the next inevitable thing is it's free, and you hope you have a second app that comes out that you can leverage your updraft again. So that's why, I mean, price movement can't just be arbitrary. And I know I sat with John on many occasions, and he would adjust the prices in his own store and see what would happen. It's a lot of A/B testing, and so I guess the lesson here is strategic. Think strategic. All right.
Yeah, and hopefully by the time you get to 99 cents, you have the ability to make it free, and you have some other monetization method that's going to make up the difference. So now you can, whether it's in-app advertising or pay to play.
And then so bring this all around is that how is it that Pretzil now, how can we leverage Pretzil to drive activity for downloads and awareness making? What's the do you have a couple of tips on how people should be able to use that?
Yeah, absolutely. So once we have your app in our database, we're scraping all of these apps. They're all getting automatically added. But if you hit our developer portal, developer.pretzil.com, you'll see that you can add the app yourself if it's not in there. You can claim the app. So much like you claim a Foursquare venue, developers, we encourage them to go and claim their apps so that they can set, here's the Twitter hashtag, here's our YouTube, here's our social outlets, here's our support line, and you can start messaging users. Now that we have you in our system, we can start recommending you to people. Users are going to start adding tags so that, and that whole process is crowdsourced. So you're going to end up in our search much more easily. And then the next step is to integrate our API. So it's just one line of code, and now we know where your app is being used, where it's popular, and we can combine all of this information in order to recommend your app. So let's say you are a data compression tool. We're going to make sure that everybody that we know that's traveling on the Pretzil network, they're going to get the recommendation of a data compression tool, because that's something that we know that people traveling are going to want to take advantage of. So we'll have all these mechanisms for the long tail of apps. So you described this, it comes up, your downloads, and then it peters out. Now that long tail has still some incredible apps there that need discovering, and that's one of the beasts that we're tackling with Pretzil.
I love that because I've known developers who struggle with this. They think they've got a great product. They're encouraged. It's like it's the same people that get up for karaoke that really suck, and they're encouraged by the applause, and then they get back up a second time, and they still suck, but people still encourage them, and they keep going until somebody just says, "Just stop." At what point? I mean, this is a tough question, right? Because I know a lot of developers that have put their heart and soul into developing a product that is just not getting any uplift. It's not getting any sales. Nobody's downloading the thing. At what point do you say, God, I put a bullet in it, shut it down, kill it, or do you do that? And obviously that's where Pretzil comes in to try to help those companies as well.
Yeah, and we don't, we recognize that you put an app out there and you don't want, at some point you want it to kind of manage itself. So I think tools such as Pretzil need to be fairly hands-off. And once you put in that line of code, let us do the work. Let us zero in on the users who will want that app. And it's in our best interest to get you the most downloads. So let's try and, developers, let's try and offload that heavy lifting. And so you don't have to sit there writing every single blogger and email every single day, but there's some good engineering decisions and some people behind you that can help.
And then you should leverage a site like untether.tv. I sit with many, many, many entrepreneurs who have built some great product and try to bring that to the forefront. Kyle, I have one more question for you, though. Are we in a bubble?
No, I don't. I wouldn't say it's a bubble. I would say it's, the valuations are high, and I think that tends to happen in any fast, kind of hot market. But I think there's a big difference between high valuations and a bubble. In the .com era, it was people were raising giants, tons of money with PowerPoint slides. Now, I don't think we're anywhere near that. But valuations are definitely inflated because the belief is that everyone will have a smartphone, and this is the next evolution of content. So I think valuations reflect that belief.
Somebody offered you $1 billion, you'd take it?
It would, yeah.
Okay, good.
Who wouldn't?
It's a sanity check, right? I take it too.
Who wouldn't?
All right, so Kyle, let's end this with telling people where to go. You've said it before. Let's bring it up again. Where should people go to get more information about what you guys are doing?
Okay. Well, you can follow us on Twitter, Pretzil Status. Developers can go to developer.pretzil.com. That's Pretzil with an I, Pretzil. And
Pretzil.
anyone who's interested in downloading the app, you can grab it from the iTunes store. Just search Pretzil, and you can go to our website, pretzil.com.
Pretzil. That's what you got to do. Pretzil.
Pretzil.
Pretzil.com. Well, Kyle, it's so great. We started doing a show a couple of years ago. You venture out, you build something like this. The tenacity of an entrepreneur is very evident. I've watched what's been going on with Pretzil for so long. We all have, and so glad that you found some funding. So glad that you're actually releasing this iOS app. It's available in Canada, US in a couple of weeks. So glad. 1.5 million users is something that is. It's an incredible number, right? It's an incredible number of people. It's 1/30th of the size of Canada. The innovative pieces that we talked about, just that example about data compression apps based on whether or not you're in your home city or you're traveling, that kind of stuff is what mobile is so good at. So even if you think your app is, in that long tail, you've got to leverage these kind of tools that bring your app to the right person at the right time. That's what Pretzil does. So please, Pretzil. I implore you, go to pretzil.com, P-R-E-T-Z or Z, whatever you want to call it, I-L, Pretzil.com, developer.pretzil.com as well. Please go and check these out. Get your app seen. Get your app discovered. Man, do these things. We don't want to see any kind of carcasses of dead apps floating around. We want you guys to succeed. That's what this industry is about. Good.
Thanks a lot, Rob. I really, I love Untethered these days. You guys are absolutely killing it. There's new life in the website, and I'm loving the daily content. Doug's doing an awesome job too, and looking forward to some big news from you guys.
Coming soon. Wow.
All right.
Kyle, my guest has been Kyle McInnes. He's the co-founder of a company called Pretzil, Pretzil.com. Go and check it out. Guys, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, I really appreciate the fact that you're listening to this. Scratchy voice and all. If you have any comments, suggestions, criticisms, anything at all, ideas, I am open to them. Reach out at untethered@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Get on board with getting your app discovered with Pretzil.com. Kyle, thanks, man. See you next time.
Thank you, Rob.
Tether.tv. My voice will be back. I promise. See everybody.
See ya.